ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रयेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्ति भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रहे। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome you all today again on our discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, and most welcome for those who has come join for the first time. I think I can see Kate joining for the first time today, and welcome again. So as we discussed earlier, that we will be reading one of the Bhagavad Mahatmya and continuing from there. So let me read a verse of it says, O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all the Vedic scriptures, O most prominent transcendental fruit of all the Vedas, O who are enriched with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusion, O you who grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world, O life breath of the Vaishnava devotees, O Lord, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of the Kali Yuga. You are actually Lord Krishna who has returned among us. So by this glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand that Krishna has actually returned to us with associate with us. See, Krishna, when he was in Vrindavan, he was actually playing with Gopalgana and all. But right now, with Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is entering to everyone's heart, everyone's house. There is no discrimination between you are in Vrindavan or in UK or in America or in which part of the world you are. You can keep Bhagavatam and your home. You can read it. You can associate with Krishna. So yesterday we heard that keeping Bhagavatam at home is very auspicious. All the sin or sinful reactions of the people staying in their house get cleared away. So see the glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam, that by the association of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we can associate with Krishna directly as well. Right, this is the glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam for today. And we were discussing on 3 questions. Anyone remembers what are the 3 questions what Sonak Rishi asked?
It was history, Parishakti, and a third one I can't remember.
Yes, so they asked 3 questions. One is the history. What the history of Srimad Bhagavatam, when and how and from whose intention or inspiration it got appeared. And the second question they asked that what are the birth and activities of Maharaj Parikshit, who was a hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the third question what about speaker Shukdev Goswami. And yesterday we heard in a brief that how Vyasadeva, after writing all the scriptures, he has given all these things what he could to the whole humanity, by seeing that Kali Yuga people will be degraded and they won't be able to learn these things. And he divided the things in the Vedas in a different ways. We went to yesterday. And then still he was not satisfied from his heart. And then as he was meditating on that his disposition, his guru Narada Muni appeared, and then he concluded that because you have not glorified the pastimes of Lord Krishna elaborately, and you have described about the four purusartha in mostly, like dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, and not glorified the pastimes and about Krishna in completely, so this is your problem. And that's how, and he said, he glorified that you are actually capable of doing it, so please narrate the story. And having said that, he started describing about his own story, isn't it? And he said that bhakti is the topmost, and okay, that's okay. So he described about two things. One is told that mundane literature, and one is spiritual literature. Narada Muni told that mundane literatures are the places of crows. Like, crows, they goes towards the garbage, filthy and unclean places. However, the honeybees, they goes to garden and find a nice flower and get the nectar from that. That is called as mundane literature. And he described what spiritual literature is, that anyone in this world, even liberated, they get benefited by this, they enjoy this, right? And by said that he described more about glories of bhakti, and then he started narrating about his own story. And there is one more thing he said, that any small effort made toward bhakti is eternal. And we discussed this point yesterday by taking the example of our bank account and a bhakti account. So sorry, the bank account goes away, but the bhakti account, it actually still there, and we can continue from there, right? Then he described it more and more. After that, he says, everyone actually, so please write for the everyone people with great enthusiasm about the glories of bhakti. And then he started narrating about himself, that because of bhakti, he has got this spiritual body now. Because Narada Muni is also known as spaceman. He can wander anywhere, everywhere, wherever he wants, right? So by saying that, he started narrating about his story. He said, in the previous day of Brahma. So let's discuss about a bit on the day of Brahma. What the day of Brahma means, right? So one Dibya Yuga is called as 4 yugas. We know about Kali Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Satya Yuga. So Kali Yuga is nearly 4,32,000 years, and double of that is Dwapara. Triple of Kali Yuga is Treta, and quadruple of Kali Yuga is Satya Yuga. So these 4 yugas makes one Dibya Yuga, and hence 1,000 of this Dibya Yuga becomes one day of Brahma. And Brahma, the night goes for same. So 1,000 Dibya Yuga for one day, and same 1,000 Dibya Yuga for the night as well. This is one complete 24 hours of Brahmaji. And Lord Brahma lives for 100 years. You can calculate by our own thing. It's like it comes nearly towards 311 trillion years. 311.04 trillion years, it comes around that. That's the age of Brahma. How can we understand it? That's why sometimes Brahma is called as, he's got Amrita. He is Amar, because his lifespan is so high. Is it possible for us to understand this logic? Let's try to understand this logic. In winter season, normally in India, nearly in Diwali time, we see that, on the light we see the flyers come, isn't it? We don't know from where they comes, but in the morning we see everyone is died. All the flyers, they are died, and the lifespan of those are nearly 6 to 7 hours, more, not more than that. And let's imagine one of the flyers, he speaks to the another flyers, the light which we are seeing now, the bulb where we are revolving, that light is being switched on by a person, and that person, his one day is actually 4 times of our one lifetime. His one day means 6 hours, so their 4 lifetimes is one day for this as a person, and that person's lives for 100 years. And if you calculate the hours for the flyer to the human being, it comes to like, Amar. In the similar way, Lord Brahma's lifespan is so huge compared to our life. And Narada Muni is narrating a story, previous day of Brahma, right? And we can have a question. Okay, how could that Brahma, like Narada Muni remembers everything? Because it's gone throughout 1,000 years, 1,000 Dibya Yugas has passed, and now he's remembering everything, and he starts glorifying that it's only because of bhakti. So he said, in my previous life, in my previous life, that is one day before of previous day of Brahma, I was a son of maid servant, and in the 4 months which actually currently going on, Chaturmasi. So this Purushottam Mas this year has come in between Chaturmas. So the Chaturmas 4 month, it's being said that from all 12 months of the year, Chaturmas 4 months are very, very favorable for spiritual practices. And from those 4 months, 1 month, the last Kartik month, is most favorable. And we have discussed earlier that even the Purushottam month is much more family, or he gives much more multifold benefits, spiritual benefits in Purushottam months right now, which we are going through this month. So he said that the Vedantis, they used to travel, and in this 4 month, wherever they are, they used to stay back there, and for 4 months they used to do Harikatha, Kirtan, and everything. And in that time, Narada Muni, in his previous life, he was hearing the talk of Lord Krishna every day from them, and by that he got attraction towards Lord Hari. His heart became transformed by hearing the glories of Lord Hari from in this 4 month. And then after 4 months, the Vedantists, they went away. They went for their next destination. So after that, they have spent for the 4 whole month, and Narada Muni was listening and hearing. Even he was taking the prasad or remnant of those Vedantists, by which right now his memory remained fresh because of only this, because of bhakti. In Bhagavad Gita, it says in chapter 2, Shwa alpasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. It means what? A small span of bhakti, doing bhakti. Shwa alpa dharmasya, this dharma is towards bhakti. Trayate mahato bhayat. It saves us from a bigger danger. And the biggest danger of our life is death. So it saves us. It saves us in this way. It doesn't save us that, okay, we won't be dying, but it saves us by giving us the next nice destination from where actually we can cultivate our spiritual life. Right. So Narada Muni said these things, and he said, I was the only son, and who is taking care of my mother. And then Vyasadeva asked, okay, so what happened when the Vedantist went? Because Narada Muni make it a short, said, okay, because of those Vedantists, I hear them, and I got this bhakti. Excuse me, please, let me switch on my light, charger, please. Okay. So Narada Muni explained, so Vyasadeva, he said, what did you do when they went away after 4 months? That's an important thing, because when we get something from a spiritual master or from one who gives us a proper knowledge, what do we do after that? Isn't it? And then Narada Muni told, after they went away, they have actually bore the seed of bhakti in my heart. And what happened is, his mother, she got died. She died by biting of a snake in one of the evening. And that bhakti which was in the seed, as a seed in the heart of Narada Muni, he thought that, okay, looks like it was only the responsibility of mine to take care of my mother, but right now I do not have any more responsibility. Krishna is being merciful, and right now I can follow the path what has been taught to me. So he went traveling and traveling and traveling, and then he said one time under a tree, and as discussed or as described by the Vedantist, he started meditating on Paramatma within his heart. He could see within his heart Krishna in his 400 form, and then he actually came in front of him just for a fraction of seconds, and then he just went away. He just came before Narada Muni and he went away. And then Narada Muni tried every possibility what he has done previously to see the same Krishna again, but he could not see it. He could not see it because Krishna, then again, a voice, celestial voice came up saying that, okay, Narada, you need to be matured in bhakti now. It doesn't mean that Narada Muni at that time was not properly doing bhakti, but still it says that, you need to be more matured. So he started doing the meditation and more, and at the end, after giving up the past body, he took birth again as Narada Muni, and he's again empowered by Lord Krishna. And right now he just only speaks or glorifies people about Lord Krishna and Lord Narayana. We see in videos and pictures, Narada Muni comes always saying about Narayana, 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 Narayana. Right. So that says this is a solution to the transcendent this material existence. Right. We need to take shelter of the boat of this holy name in this Kali Yuga to go away from this material existence. And then he was very convinced and said that the transcendental or transcendence to the material existence depend upon the submissiveness or depend upon the degree of taking shelter of Lord Krishna or Lord Krishna Katha. So as much as we are kind of, surrender towards hearing Krishna Katha, that much Krishna reveals us. We can take a small example to understand how this happens, how Krishna reveals us. Right. So you may say, you have I just gave this example earlier as well. You have a friend, if let's suppose you are working and one of the you see a new colleague come before you, and you just saw him, say hi and bye, names, and that's it. But you don't start revealing your secrets to him. And one day you went for a tea with him or a coffee with him, and then after that you started mixing more. Okay, let's go for lunch, let's go for break, and let's go for more talking. And then gradually you start speaking more about your own self. And when the two becomes more closer friends, both knows everything about each other, isn't it? In the similar way, when we associate with this book Bhagavad, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, in a similar way, they started revealing us within our heart, because Krishna is residing in our heart as Paramatma. He knew very well what is our intention, right? And as he knew our intention, he starts revealing us the same thing to us. The only thing that we need to dedicate our self towards him, taking shelter towards him. It's being said, if you take one step, Krishna takes 10 steps towards us. Right. So that's the learning from here that Narada Muni gave, that the degree of submissiveness is what we needed, and that by this we can actually transcend this material existence. And then by saying that, Narada Muni left the place, and now we are entering to chapter number 7, where Narada Muni sat down. Vyasadeva, after hearing it, sat down, and up sitting down, he started meditating properly, as being described or as being advised by his guru Narada Muni. He says, thus by fixing his mind, he could see three things. When he was in the samadhi, he could see Krishna in front of him, his incarnations, as well as he could see Maya behind Krishna. Even I told earlier as well, Maya is always remain on the backside of Krishna. Right. So Maya was behind Krishna, or it's one of the energy as well. And he could also see jivas, or we living entities. And he could see that we are being bewildered by Maya. When we will going towards next chapter, maybe in chapter 8, we will see how Maya makes us bewildered. This jiva is the prayer of Kunti Maharani. There we will understand this a bit more on that. And by seeing this, he seen that, okay, the people are actually bewildered. The jiva is properly bewildered. So he is thinking that the medicines should be given as prescribed by his guru. Right. So he could see the disease, and the medicine was already recommended by his guru. So he started writing Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, actually, the mass people of this Kali Yuga, they won't be able to understand properly, and hence he started writing Srimad Bhagavatam. See, the point here is, people in general, Prabhupada says, people in general do not know that this Srimad Bhagavatam is which actually can cleanse our heart, we can purify our heart, and it can actually take away all our material miseries. We all are hankering for happiness, but no one knows how we can get away from this. Even in it's given in chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 5, in the last verse, Prabhupada gives the purport saying that people are looking for peace, but they do not know how to get peace. Right. And that is the only way by which we can, when we link with Lord by the process of devotional service, we can actually mitigate our material miseries. That is the solution. And the next he describes a very, very important verse comes there in 7th chapter. It's the effect of hearing. Effect of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. What is that? It says, Yasyam vai surya maya nam Krishna parama purushe bhaktir utpate pumsam soka moha bhayapaha. What does that mean? Simply by giving oral reception to the Vedic literature, this Srimad Bhagavatam, the feeling of loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once in our heart and extinguishes the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearness. Soka moha bhayapaha. When the bhakti sprouts in our heart, what happens? Soka means what? Lamentation. Lamentation we do for our past. Okay, I've lost my something, started crying. I lost my phone, I lost my this, I lost my this. That's soka. What is gone? Moha is for current, illusion. Okay, I'll do this, I'll get it. It's an illusion. And bhaya is for future. Okay, I need to have a good bank balance because my future is one of that. Okay, if I lose my job, what will do? I have to have a bank balance. That's a fear. We have always tendency of fear, isn't it? If I don't work properly in my office, I'll get kicked away. That's always a fear is there. In every respect, it's an example. I'm not saying that we should not work, but it's an example that we always have fear for our future. And lamentation for the past and we are currently in the present is always illusion. And these three goes away when we hear Krishna Katha regularly. So that's an important point it's being made here, that hearing the Krishna Katha can give us more happiness. And then after writing this Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadev Goswami taught this to, Vyasadev taught this to Sukadev Goswami. Sukadev Goswami is again his own son, and then he was already elevated. Sukadev Goswami from birth he was elevated. But then a question comes to Sonaka Rishi. Remember that we are hearing the discussion between Sonaka Rishi and Suta Goswami at the place of Naimisharanya. So Sonaka Rishi, they are hearing it from Suta Goswami, what had happened in between Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami. So they asked a question that how could Sukadev Goswami is a liberated person? He is already liberated. Then what was the need for him to get studying this literature again? And then Suta Goswami, he described that this literature, he says, this literature is for everyone and every person. He says that this is Atmaram verses. Then any person in this world, they take pleasure within their own self. And the person who are actually on the path of self-realizations, they take more pleasure in these talks. This is all different varieties of Atmaras, those who take pleasure in the Atma or the self, especially those established on the path of self-realizations, though freed from all kind of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto Supreme Lord. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore it can attract everyone, including liberated soul. So having said that, he said, it is actually for everyone. Then Sukadev Goswami, who is son of Vyasadev, he was not only transcendentally powerful, he was actually very dear to Lord Krishna as well. And thus, as he is dear to Krishna, so he happily learned this Bhagavatam from his father. Right? In this way, the first question, history of Srimad Bhagavatam, is being answered by to the Naimisharyan sages. And then it's actually, this is completes nearly the middle part of 7th chapter. And after that, we will be hearing the second question. Second question was the birth and activities of Parikshit Maharaj. So Suta Goswami said, so I will be narrating you the story or about the birth and activities of King Parikshit Maharaj, right? So what happened after the war? After the war of what has nearly finished, the war of Kurukshetra, one of the friend of Duryodhana we know as Ashwathama. So to satisfy Duryodhana, what he did a very, very heinous act. He killed 5 sons of Draupadi, those who were actually sleeping, right? And by killing those, he cut the heads of the 5 sons of Draupadi, and he brought towards Duryodhana. He said, okay, see my friend, I have killed those 5 Pandavas. But Duryodhana says, how can you kill him? The devotee explains sometimes that, Duryodhana, he asks, okay, let me see the head of those. And then when Duryodhana was also very powerful, he could crush. He said, no, I can't believe that these are the head of Pandavas. And he actually says that, Ashwathama, I was not expecting this from you. And by this, Draupadi started crying, seeing that, okay, my son has been killed. And very soon, Krishna and Arjuna, they took the chariot and started running or chasing Ashwathama. Ashwathama, he went as good as he could do, but he could not go far away. Krishna and Arjuna, they caught him. By seeing that, he was about to caught and killed, he left Brahmastra. Brahmastra is again a nuclear weapon in a Vedic culture, and which is actually more dangerous because it can be destroy whole things, and also can be, with the chanting of mantras, can attack only one single person as well. And it was whole, the sky was filled with all light in effulgence. Arjuna asked to Krishna, Krishna, what is this? I can't see it. I can't understand what is going on. And then Krishna explained that this son, or Ashwathama, had actually, son of Drona, Ashwathama had actually left Brahmastra. So you do another Brahmastra, or leave another Brahmastra and bring it back, because Ashwathama do not know how to bring it back. Imagine the power of astras. It could be brought back as well. And in today's world, one is left means it's left, it destroyed, not just for the one time, for many, many, many years. We can see that, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and even we know about more World War I and II, what had happened. So that was the power earlier with the chanting of mantras, right? After that, as they caught Ashwathama, after that, and then Krishna asked or said Arjuna to kill right now, because he has already given a vow to Draupadi that, okay, I will kill the person, I'll bring to you in front of him, in front of you. And then Arjuna said, no, I won't be killing it. The Krishna insisted. He said, just kill him. How can you mercy him? Because he has already killed your children, 5 sons, and we have given a vow. He said, no, he is the son of my guru, and I would not be killing him now. So they dragged him towards Draupadi. And Draupadi, by seeing him, he says, no, please forgive him. See, imagine this is the called nature of devotees who take shelter of Krishna. Imagine a person who has already killed the 5 sons, and now she's saying that, okay, please forgive him. Why? Forgive him because he is a Brahmana, first thing, and he is not supposed to be killed. And then again he says he is the son of your guru. That's also says that you should not kill him, isn't it? And then third point she made, she said that, no, I know the pain of sons dying, and I don't want the same pain for Kripi. But Kripi has already lost her husband, Dronacharya. So please forgive him. Having said that, Yudhishthir Maharaj, Nakula, Sahadeva, they all supported. And Bhima, he wasn't angry. He said, no, do not forgive him. Let's kill him right away. He is not supposed, or he is not supposed to, we are not supposed to give him mercy. He should be killed right away. And then Krishna, he was laughing, not laughing instantly, but he said, Krishna, Arjuna, you need to satisfy both the party. Both the party means one is Bhima and one is Draupadi. Draupadi is on saying that, okay, I don't want to, he should not be killed, and Bhima is saying he should be killed. So Krishna, see, interesting point here is, or to take away, to understand that even Krishna was with them. Krishna is saying that, Arjuna, you need to take action. You need to think about what you need to do. Even in Bhagavad Gita, if you see at the 18th chapter, Krishna has given all the knowledge to Arjuna. This is the path of Karma Yoga, this is the path of Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, everything he said. And at the end, he said, Arjuna, you need to decide. It means what? we need to use our own intelligence, what is good and what is bad, according to the scriptures. We need to churn our thing more. And having said that, Krishna said, you need to think. And however, yes, when we are surrendered towards Krishna, Krishna helps us to take the decision within our heart as a Paramatma. He helps us definitely, but he tests the devotee, how they are acting on it. And then this, they said one thing, that he is a friend of Brahmana, so he should not be killed. However, he is an aggressor and he must be killed. He is an aggressor. Prabhupada defines this meaning of aggressor in chapter 1. He says there are 6 kinds of aggressor: those who attack you with deadly weapons, those who kidnap someone's wife, those who gives you poisons, those who take away the riches, those who take away the lands, and there's one more. And in this way, these are the 6 people who can be killed. So he said, okay, you should go in, but now the condition is, as a Brahmana, you should not kill him, and an aggressor, you should kill him. You must kill him. So it's on to you, Arjuna, decide what to do. Right? You have given a vow to your wife, and now you have to satisfy Bhishma as well. And having said, Arjuna, what he did, he took his sword and take out jewel from the head of Ashwathama. Ashwathama has a jewel from his very birth. So it's basically when a person's honor and pride are being crushed, he was actually virtually killed, isn't it? And then he was virtually killed, but still life was saved of Ashwathama. Ashwathama left from there. And then we enter chapter number 7. So its time is going up.
One, Guruji, could Ashwathama be actually killed? Because was he not eternal? Because he got this boon that he would be eternal. Could Ashwathama be actually be killed? Because he was eternal by the boon of his father, that he would be eternal.
Yes, maybe that might be a reason. That's why he was not being killed there.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll come back on this one.
Okay.
So I think its time is going up. So we'll start from chapter 7 tomorrow. What do you say?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. All right. Any questions?